This is the first time I've ever prepared a sermon that I don't have an introduction prepared. And it was just really funny that as we were going through our daily readings and stuff, suddenly an introduction popped in my head. Too late to write it out though, but I thought it was interesting that the themes in all the readings, obviously I select them for a purpose, and is everything okay? Okay, just making sure. We looked at the reading in Exodus and what was going on there. Anyone who was paying attention. People complaining, and there was something very interesting. Even in spite of the complaining, God provided. Then we saw the reading in Matthew, the famous parable of the workers, right? And what do we have in there?
Complaining.
Someone. Yes. People complaining, someone providing. And even to a certain extent, Paul, in his letter to the Philippians, he was talking about what? Yeah. Well, he was talking about the way that we should live in spite of the complaining that goes on around us, or the stuff that we see or going on. And this week has been a very, like I said, a very interesting week. Did anyone else have a hard, difficult week? And that would include up until this morning. Just a couple of us. I don't know. I had this real sense that us as a church had a difficult week. And I think that one of the things that we really need to take very, very seriously and be very aware of is there is an aspect of spiritual warfare in our lives. Things start going good. We're moving in the direction that I believe that God wants for us, and then something happens. And the way we react to it can be attributed to spiritual warfare. But I don't want to say it's always that, because a lot of times it's us. We are sometimes the cause of the spiritual warfare in our lives. But I think what's so important is that we are actively and really genuinely living in community. And I'm kind of doing this just kind of off the top of my head. So, as I was sitting there listening to the readings, I just kept thinking about it. This week was a difficult one for me because there was a lot of grumbling. There was a lot of not realizing or not thinking about what God has provided in my life, what God has worked and given to me in my life. And I got so caught up on the grumbling that I forgot about what God was doing. And sometimes it's very easy. No, my wife looked over at me like...
Grumbling, otherwise known as complaining.
Well, yes, since you have to put it that way. There was a lot of complaining going on. But I think we all go through it. And the way for us to really live this out is to share it with other people. When you're having a difficult day, when you're having a hard morning, you have to have people in your life that you can legitimately, truly, genuinely go to and say, today is awful for this reason. Hopefully, you'll have a very good Christian friend that will say, stop complaining and look at what God's provided for you. Look at all the blessings in your life. I was fortunate enough that I had that. The problem is I had too much of that, and that led to more complaining. So, yeah, you got to be careful in the quote-unquote pastoral circles, because I'm talking to one friend and I said, oh, this is a rough week. Well, he went and called like 4 other pastor friends of mine, and I'm getting call after call going, I hear you're having a bad week. Yes, let me go over this story again, and again, and again, and again. And then before I knew it, I just kept hearing myself going, and that's a lot of complaining you're doing. If someone was doing that to me, I would have been like a long time ago, that's really enough, shut up. So it's funny the way that God really just puts us in check and kind of reminds us, you're just a part, you're not the whole thing. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us. It is legitimate to have a bad day or to be going through a rough time. But what we are to be to one another is the community that we rely on. So when you are having a bad day, you don't have any excuses as to why that has to continue. Because you do have a family of people who love you and care about you that you can go to and say, pray with me, just talk to me, give me some advice, do something, help me get out of this, help me remember where I'm supposed to be. So, and even with that, and the readings we heard, on one end, you can look at some of those readings and just kind of go, wow, that's a little rough, that's harsh, some of the stuff that's going on there. And I think that's what we've been experiencing in Hosea. The past couple weeks, Hosea has been a very difficult, hard thing to kind of deal with and accept, primarily because there's a lot of punishment. There's a lot of promises or threats of destruction. And this section here is wonderful because it's not that. So it'll be a small change throughout this whole series that this is going to be a very positive thing. But you guys know me, and I'm going to point out all the negatives in there and make you feel bad and miserable and all that. And then at the end of the day, we'll be like, yeah, because there's hope. So pray with me, and we're going to get started. I don't exactly know, just to give you guys an idea. I've said this to a couple people in my family. This seems really short, what I have prepared. I'm just throwing that out there just in case it does end up being short. Then you guys can be like, wow, it really was short. But I don't know. I told Samira, I think it was you I was talking this morning, I said, my sermon seems really short. She looked at me and she was like, you don't know short. And then she brought up me saying 5 weeks ago that I was going to only speak for 20 minutes and then I spoke for 40, so, yeah. So, let's pray with me really quick and then we're going to get into this, hopefully in a short amount of time. Father God, we're coming to you as a group of people who love you, who are seeking after you, who really have a genuine desire to live in community and to demonstrate the love of Christ to those around us, but we have a very strong tendency to complain. We forget what you do for us, and we think of only of ourselves. So forgive us for that, Father. Help us to always keep our eyes set on you, remembering the endless and infinite amount of blessings that you provide us. Even those of us that have the most difficult, hard life are blessed because you called us your own. Father, help us as we go through this part of Hosea to see the promises of your love and mercy, redemption, reconciliation, restoration, and hope. Give us hearts and minds that are open. Help us to hear the words that you have for us, and help us to be more like your Son. We pray these things in his name. Amen. So let's see. Like I said a little bit already, last section we talked about some pretty awful things. God was promising things for them, right? What did I went on endlessly last week about these stuff. What were some of the common things that we kept hearing last week? For those of you who weren't here, you're excused. However, you guys knew what we were studying, so I may call on you anyways. So what were some of the things we talked about last week? Covenant, okay. Uh-oh, we got a hand up in the back. What do you got?
9/11.
What's that?
9/11.
Oh, we talked about 9/11 last week. Okay. What else?
How God was turning his back on the people and then he went back to them.
Yeah, God was originally telling the people that you're not going to be my people. I'm not going to show you mercy. And then he shifts it and goes, you are my people and I am going to show you mercy. So we have this aspect of, uh-oh, yes.
Honey, you shouldn't say, where are you, God?
Okay, yeah, that was one of the things I asked. Which is true, which I could have used to hear all week long. Yeah, there was this constant theme of destruction is coming your way, I'm going to abandon you, and then God would just turn around and say, blessings are coming your way, and I'm right there for you. We saw that there was just this continuous pattern of God setting it up like it appeared to be hopeless, and then it would change to hope at the end. So, we're going to get right into it. Last week, who remembers what the title of the sermon was? I'm asking because I don't remember.
Unfaithfulness punished.
Unfaithfulness punished. This week is going to be punishment to mercy. And we'll start out in verse 14. That's where we left off. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. So, we have this, let me go back real quick. I can't find Hosea, what do you think of that? See, that's why you shouldn't go, what?
It's after them.
6:36.
6:30. See, that's my problem is I started using like a digital, I'm using like my iPad for my Bible, so you just tap it and bam, it's up there. It's like turning pages? What's that all about? All right, 6:36. So, in the previous section, I'm gonna get it together, don't. So, hey, where's the talking back there? Hosea 2:14. Page, you got a different Bible. All right. So, all right. When we left off, I'm just trying to connect these two, I'm sorry. God was talking about taking his people, taking them to a forest, beasts of the field, right? We're going to devour them. So there was this sense of fear, this sense of creation has been altered and changed because now these animals that were friendly, or at least they had some type of dominion over, are now going to be enemies of them. They're going to be punished for these feasts. Remember we talked about the festivals of the moons and all these other feasts that God had told them, participate in. This is a way to worship me. He says, I'm taking that all away from you guys because you guys aren't worshiping me through these feasts. You guys are worshiping Baal through these feasts. And talked about how, let's see, verse 13. And I will punish her for the feast days of the Baals when she burned offerings to them and adorned herself with ring and jewelry and went after her lovers and forgot me, declares the Lord. So you have this concept of God saying that these people have forgotten all about me. They don't remember who I am. They have forgotten everything I do for them. Kind of like that Exodus account, right? God takes the Jewish people out of Egypt, where they were doing what? Living the high life, living large, right? What were the Jewish people like in Egypt? No, in Egypt. Yeah, they were slaves. Remember, they were building pyramids or whatever, shrines to the pharaohs. God takes them out of that. Now, if you're a slave and you're set free, do you have anything at all to complain about? Should you be thankful, beyond thankful and grateful? But being people just like us, what do? Yes, they find a way to complain. And now they're saying, hey, at least when we were slaves, granted we were beaten and worked to death, but we got fed. Now here we are free wandering around and we're not even being taken care of. So God goes, I'll take care of that for you guys. And what does he do for them? Bread from the skies. Literally, bread is just like raining from the skies. And what else?
Fish,
Quail.
Quail. Almost fish. Quail. So now they have meat and bread. Do you think they're content and happy?
Nope.
It's like a bird. It's like a small chicken. It's delicious, actually. Yeah, and then remember, this is quail from God. So it was really, really, really good. I can't even imagine what that bread tasted like. That bread must have been just unbelievably wonderful. So God says, you forgot me. And then he switches it. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. That phrase, I will allure her, a better translation is speak comfort to her. And an even more accurate translation is speak tenderly to her. Do we know what God's talking about? How many people are dating someone? Yeah, if you're not married, you're technically dating someone if you're in a relationship. What does it mean, guys, to speak tenderly? To allure? Kat, you're not supposed to give him the answer.
I said yes. What does it mean?
Oh. Come on, guys. Now's your chance.
Speak sweetly,